Make sure you guys get your free stocks from Moomoo. Link down below. Deposit at least $100 with Moomoo, and you could get up to 5 stocks, each of which could be valued up to $3,500. And on top of that, you also get a free share of NEO guaranteed. Again, use that link down below. And now let's break down the market, some charts, stocks I'm looking at, and what I'm looking to do in these markets. So sit back, relax, take a sip of your coffee. This is my second cup of coffee of the day. So yeah, let's get right into the video, guys. Starting off here with SPY, which was completely and utterly crazily volatile today. You all can see SPY ended up closing down about 0.7%, triple Q down 0.5, NASDAQ, or I guess that is the NASDAQ, Russell up 0.6, and we had the Dow down 0.6, as we had the VIX down 3.6, and we had gold up 3%, almost at all-time highs, and silver's now up, it's up 4.5% on the day. So look at this. SPY was green earlier in the day, and like we talked about in my video previously, we kind of called this out, guys, not to toot my own horn, but it looks like people sold the rip. Hence why I titled that video, Sell the Rip, because we saw a huge run, we were still in an overall downtrend, and we saw a sharp decline at 427, which is a big resistance. And it just looked like a bull trap, guys, and we called it out. And look what happened. If I pull up this intraday chart, you guys can see we saw that big run up, like I said, and it went straight down from 427 down to 418. It lost about 2%, and we're talking this was just in about 30 to 45 minutes. And then we saw a relief rally. We failed breaking out of the highs from the day, and we ended up dumping from about 3 p.m. start of power hour for the rest of the day. It went from 423 down to about 416 at close, and now after market we're at 414.66. So these markets are getting killed. Selling the rip was a good idea in hindsight, and again, we called it out in that video while this run up and the little sell-off started to occur. And the same thing happened with triple Q. Take a look at this. Triple Q went down 0.5%. We had that crazy run during the day from 320 up to about 333. It ran up 4%, which is nuts, and then it started to sell off. We saw that relief rally, and then all of power hour was a bloodbath. This went from 329, now it's at 321 after hours. It lost 2.3% from power hour up until where it is right now, which essentially is pretty much right where it closed, 322, 323, right in that area. So it's not looking good, guys. If we take out the lows here, which were really close, 317 were the lows from about a week and a half ago. If that point breaks, we're going to go a lot lower. And if SPY breaks under, let me show you guys this before we move on. If SPY breaks under 410, I've mentioned this a lot, but for all the new viewers, this is probably going to collapse down. It's going to see a leg down. Next level, I would say, I think it was 400, 402 last time I checked it. Let's double check here. Yeah, right around 40, actually more like 404, 403. That's where it probably will end up going. Then after that, we're talking under 400. So what do you think about these markets, guys? Drop me a comment, hit the like button, and again, make sure to get your 5 stocks from Moomoo and your free share of NEO, link down below. And let's get into now Enphase, which is a stock that's completely breaking out. It went up 11%, and that's what we're noticing as Russian oil is getting banned now. We're seeing the whole chaos, Russia, Ukraine, the upwards momentum in the crude oil price. We're seeing inflation. Gas is very expensive, so what's happening? People are looking at companies like Enphase, Tesla. That's why a lot of these EV, green-oriented companies have been doing very well. So Enphase, again, like I said, up 11% on the day. It's clearly breaking out. We see a golden cross as well, which is fantastic. We had the inverse head and shoulders play out. You guys can see that here. Now we're at a breakout spot. And now that I'm looking at this is an ascending triangle as well. Take a look at that. So now we're at a point where if this breaks 180, 182, which was the high point from about a month ago, the 9th of February, this could end up breaking towards 200 plus. I'm not saying all the way to 280. It could get there, but step by step, guys, baby steps here. But I think it could get to 210. I mean, that'd be the next gap if we break out of 182 and honestly above 190 as well. 190 is a point of resistance to watch out for. So I'm going to be watching Enphase, guys, moving forward in this 180, 190 zone. If it breaks out of there again, 210 followed by 225, 230 is where I believe it could be going, as we're seeing a ton of momentum in these green EV type of stocks. So another one here is SEDG, which is also breaking out. This is SolarEdge Technologies. We can see an inverse head and shoulders on this one, a golden cross. It's above the moving averages, and today it went up over 10%, and this actually broke out of resistance, a resistance from last week. Let me show you this on the 20-day chart. The resistance from last week was 325. We broke that. We hit a high of 335 today, and we closed above 325. We closed at almost 329. So that's a very good sign here, and a sign that momentum will likely continue. And I'm not saying it's going to go up in a straight line. We're going to see pullbacks like we saw later last week, in the latter half of last week, rather. You can see it here. We saw that huge run-up, and then we saw a pullback Monday, or not Monday, this is probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we had Monday, Tuesday, right? And now it's starting to break out again. So we're probably going to see some pullbacks like we've seen in the past. In fact, I guarantee we'll see some pullbacks. But overall, the momentum looks like it wants to take this stock up to 375, maybe 390. Maybe we break that point. That's kind of what I'm watching. And the inverse head and shoulders in general, the right shoulder would complete at about 375. So that's what I'm watching when it comes to SolarEdge, ticker symbol SEDG. Another one that I'm looking at is PWR. This is Quanta Services. This one up over 8% today. We're noticing an inverse head and shoulders potentially forming on this one, and it's above the moving averages with a golden cross on the horizon. Look at this. We're not seeing it yet, but we're super close to getting that 50 to move over the 180, which could be a very bullish sign for this stock. And ultimately, the next main resistance that we're seeing right now is right where we are at about 117. That was resistance early January. And if 117 breaks, I might as well put my alert maybe at 118. If this point breaks, the next gap to fill is that recent 125 roughly high, which means there could be a good $6-7 upside, maybe up to 4 or 5% potential. So I'm watching PWR for that reason. AMD is another one that I'm looking at here, guys, and by no means is AMD breaking out. Is it reversing? It's not quite there yet, but just for you to know this and for myself to, let's see if I can, I don't even remember, so I got to remind myself, it is down 34% from all-time highs, and it's clearly still on a downtrend. Like I said, we're seeing a death cross here. We've seen a death cross for months. It's under the moving averages too, but we're noticing buyers are stepping in right at the support of the wedge here. Do you notice that? And it's right above the recent high, or rather low, from the end of January. So it looks like this is fighting to hold the uptrend, and I kind of want to see if we do get a breakout maybe towards 115, 17, maybe towards these moving averages, and then it's going to test the resistance of the wedge, and if that breaks, I mean, that would be great for the bulls, but let's see if we could catch a move within the wedge here. We're more towards the bottom. We're a bit oversold. So if we can get that push, hey, 115, 20, that's where this could go, in my opinion, on the higher end. So keep your eyes on AMD. And another thing worth mentioning, if this breaks under $100, it's probably going to collapse from there, and I wouldn't want to touch it. In fact, I would even consider shorting it at that point. If things in the markets got very ugly, we got that leg down under 100, that's going to be a huge technical break, and bears could dominate. I mean, they will dominate at that point in time, most likely. Anything's possible, but that's kind of what I think. AG is another one that's playing out very beautifully right now. AG's first Majestic Silver went up 5% today. We closed at about $13, and if you guys watched my videos last week, we called this out as we saw an ascending triangle on the 4-hour chart, and I mentioned if this breaks 1250, 1275, it's going to fly, and it did exactly that today. It went up 5%, that's great, but earlier in the day, it was actually up, 11%, maybe close to 12%, and it got all the way to $14 a share. So the ascending triangle played out, and we got the breakout. It filled the entire gap that we called out, which was right around to $13.80, $14. We did that today, and we saw some profit taking, which is completely normal. I expected that. Look at this, guys. We hit $14 at noon on the East Coast, and by 1 o'clock on the East Coast, it was back under 13. This thing fell 8% in an hour. So that goes to show profit taking. And another thing, it goes to show how strong 14 is as a resistance right now, as we see a clear double top here on the intraday chart. Look at that. So at this point, I don't think the trend is going to reverse to the downside. In fact, I think this is a cool off in the breakout, and it's getting ready for round two. You know, we might consolidate for a little bit around 1250, 1280, 13, and ultimately I think we're going to break back over 14 and start shooting for 16. You know, by the looks of it, with the way gold and silver, with the way these metals are moving like crazy with all this fear, I think the stock's going to keep going until I'm proven, wrong, until I see something in the markets which tells me otherwise, which I'm just not seeing at this point in time. So that's AG. I'm also looking at Lithia Motors here, ticker symbol LAD. This one's been reversing. You guys can see on the 4-hour chart. Let me pull out my ovals. You can also see an inverse head and shoulders potentially forming. So we're noticing, again, a reversal above the moving averages. We're also getting a golden cross. And today it went up 0.6% in the midst of a red market. And it's simply just pulled back over the past couple of days after getting very overbought. It makes sense. I mean, this thing ran up to 350 pretty much from 280 in a straight line. It ran up 25% in a couple of weeks. So the fact that it is down what? It's down 8% now in the past couple of days. Does that surprise me? No, guys, it's normal. So at this point, I think buyers could step in on Lithia anywhere from 310, 320, and I'm going to set my alert at 325 just to have it a bit higher to get the, for the confirmation of the breakout so we don't get faked out. You guys like what I said there? That's why I'm putting it at 325, and at that point, if we break, we might be going back to 350. And who knows, if this inverse head and shoulders plays out, which it shows like we kind of have one here on the 4-hour chart, we might be going 380, 385. Watch out for this over the next couple of weeks. So the last one I want to break down today is none other than GDXJ. You guys like that one too? Hey, I'm on a roll today. GDXJ went up 0.9%. And for context, this is a junior gold miners ETF. It's not a senior gold miners ETF like GDX. GDXJ is a junior gold miner, so they're a bit more volatile in nature, and they go up a lot more sometimes than what GDX goes, or the senior miners, and they're a bit more risky, a little bit more speculative, right? A lot more speculative, probably, depending on who you're talking to, right? So GDXJ went up 0.9% today, and what we're noticing is this one's not breaking out like GDX is. Look at GDX's chart. This completely ripped above $35 and got all the way to 40, which, not to toot my own horn, but we call that out as well. And that's really mainly because NEM did well on earnings and the stock's been ripping. We have GOLD, it's been ripping. So a lot of these large caps are helping the large cap, the gold stocks. They're helping GDX, whereas a lot of the smaller ones aren't doing as great. You know, AG is a smaller one. We just covered that. Smaller company, and you can see the trend's not looking like what GOLD or NEM's trend look like. So going back to GDXJ, I believe this will ultimately break out. I really do think that. And whether it's this week, next week, I don't know. But I'm going to set my alert at 49 or maybe 48.50. And, I mean, we did break out today, guys. This thing was up over 50, so it did show potential, or strength, rather, above that resistance, which is great. So this might be a blessing in disguise. I mean, the fact that it pulled back 5% intraday. So I'm going to put my alert at, where was I? I lost my train of thought there. 48.25. Let's do that. 48.25 is where I'm putting my alert on this, and I'm just doing that because, hey, look, again, resistance a couple months ago was 48.50. If we start pushing back above 48.25, I think we're cracking 50 or 48.50 from the couple months ago, and we're going to go test the highs from today, $50. And if you look at this yearly chart, I think the next gap above 50 is $55. Yep, look at that. So I think that's where this could go. Again, these smaller, these junior miner stocks, they move very aggressively in both directions, right? And if they go up, this thing is going to outperform GDX. It's just a matter of time here. but we're just not getting it yet because the very large, heavy-weighted, again, NEM, GOLD, there's a couple other ones. Those are crushing it, whereas the smaller ones, not that many of them are doing as well, from at least my understanding, right? I could be wrong. If you guys are gold bugs, heavy gold bugs, drop me some comments, let me know. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. A little bit quicker. We're in here for about 15 minutes. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe, and join my Patreon if you want all my buy, sells, call outs, morning update videos, more access to me throughout the day, plus more. All of that's on Patreon. And don't forget to get your 5 stocks from Moomoo. Use that link, deposit $100, and you could get up to 5 stocks, each of which could be valued up to $3,500. And on top of that, you get a free guaranteed share of NEO, which is anywhere from what, 15, 18, 20 bucks, depending on the day. So if you want free money, use that link. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching as always.